Hey everybody, I'm Rick Elkin. I'm the author of the new book, The Illusion of Knowledge, Why So Many Educated Americans Embrace Marxism. Thought I'd tell you a little bit about it. As we all suffer through this tsunami of political conflict in America, and it's apparent that many Americans have lost respect for our Constitution, for the rule of law, for property rights, and the economic advantages of capitalism. Watching rioters, run through the streets and sing songs and celebrate the wonders of Marxist theory, I decided I had to try to explain why so many supposedly highly educated Americans think that the most murderous political ideology the world has ever known would be the panacea for all of our American domestic and economic problems. As I did my research, I happened to witness some devastating effects on a close friend of my wife. She was suffering spousal abuse. And I started reading more and more about that, and I suddenly came to a startling realization. There is a strong correlation between people who have suffered broken families, abandonment, and isolation with a propensity to embrace a partner that abuses them. And I have come to the conclusion that some social dynamics like that can occur in mass social settings just as well as they do in a relationship of a couple. So in this book, I make the analogy that schooling and mass media can have the same effects on people as an abuser has on his victim. The process is a clinical condition called perspecticide, and it's actually something psychologists have identified. And a perspecticide is the murder of rational perspective. So that's how they came around with that term, and it explains the coercive control used by abusers to essentially hijack the identity and the moral values and foundations of their victims. And that results in an illusion of knowledge. In other words, that abuser essentially shapes the thinking of their victims. And that sets up a false set of conceptions that can skew their ability to make sound decisions. So if you've ever known a woman that is abused by her partner and seems unable to escape the situation and continues to live with it, even though they're getting beaten and intimidated, then you know how people can be controlled without their consent. And sometimes they'll end up accepting and embracing values that they previously would never have thought of accepting. So, and by the way, this is something that occurs in other areas of our world, and particularly prisoners of war. They're captive, they're held for long periods of time, and they're subjected to relentless perspecticide. Many Americans have suffered years of perspecticide. They're called students. They're subjected to years of educational indoctrination and media propaganda. From early on in school, our kids are told their existence is threatened by nuclear war, by global warming, by pandemic disease, and by rich people that don't care about them. So we're seeing the truth of this in classroom activity more frequently now, thanks to social media and cell phone cameras. Academic indoctrination is performed under the justification of making us all more inclusive and less judgmental. It is actually soft propaganda designed to establish groupthink and to achieve so-called social justice. Some pop psychologists call this process gaslighting. So that's sort of interchangeable. Sometimes you'll hear it referred to as perspecticide. Sometimes you'll hear it referred to as gaslighting. It's essentially the same thing. The illusion of knowledge has convinced millions of Americans we can all have an abundance of wealth and freedom without working for it. My hope in writing this book is to help readers acquire a better understanding of how our own schools and mass media have become corrupted by utopians, and hopefully to instill a sense of urgency to restore the integrity of these essential community services. Anyway, I hope you will pick up a copy of this book and enjoy it. I think it'll help you understand what's going on in our world. And you can get these in either hardcover, softcover, or ebook versions at Amazon Books or at most online booksellers. Thanks for listening.